Hey, it's your Jock, back with another great video for you. Now, before I get into it, the previous video was a little bit more lighthearted, a little bit more tongue-in-cheek than a lot of my other videos, but a lot of you guys seem to really enjoy that. So before we begin today's video, this is going to be in the same vein, a little bit more lighthearted. Don't take everything so seriously. I'm not looking to get people angry or upset at other people. So this is going to be fun. But as usual, like in most of my videos, I want you walking away from the video better than before you came into it. So as with most of my videos, I'm going to give you a piece of practical information that you can actually implement into your life to make your life better. Now, before we begin, there is something I am a little bit sad about. Garage sale season is coming to an end. And I've been in America now. We just had our 6-month anniversary of me and my wife being here in America. And we came over with not too much stuff, not too much clothing. So we've been hitting up some sales and garage sales. We're loving, both me and my wife. And you might notice I'm dressed a little different today. This Letterman's jacket, which I love the color scheme, red and black. I got this, $3. And the shirt, you can see track and field, I got for $1. And actually, we hit this garage sale up the other day coming back from church. And the lady was watching YouTube. I subscribed her to both of my YouTube channels. So Linda, if you see this, thank you for the great deal and the reasonable prices, because some garage sales you go to and they have ridiculous prices. They're selling secondhand stuff and they want way too much money and it's ridiculous. But a lot of garage sales are very reasonably priced. And this is one garage sale. The lady had all her stuff very reasonably priced. And then on top of it, she cut us a deal. So I got this great Letterman's jacket and I have this track and field tank top. Now, I didn't do track and field as I got older because I want to focus on wrestling, and I don't know if I have the natural abilities to excel on a big scale, like on a national scale or even a state scale in terms of track and field. But one thing I'm very proud of, which this might be strange to some of you guys because it happened so early in life. In the 5th grade, I took second in the city in high jump. Now my dad, as a freshman, he took first in the city in high jump. But something that my dad brought up is he didn't use the same technique. I used what's called the Fosbury flop, which if you've seen any modern track meet like the Olympics, that's where you run and you jump over the bar and you land on like basically the back of your head, the back of your neck, because they had these super soft, big foam mats. And my dad's day, they couldn't do that because they just had sand pits. You'd injure yourself very badly if you tried to do that. And my dad points out that the Fosbury flop, what all high jumpers use today because you can jump higher, that's not practical in the real world. And track and field, what a lot of people don't realize, these were things that were for combat, for war, things a soldier would need. The javelin, that was a weapon. The discus, that was a weapon. The shot put, all that stuff. This is supposed to relate to practical combat. And jumping over a bar, doing the Fosbury flop, and landing on the back of your neck, that's not something you would ever do to jump over a fence or in any kind of practical situation. So my dad's right about that, and he doesn't like the Fosbury flop. But anyways, I took second in the city. Very proud of that. My dad took first as a freshman. So let's get into today's video. Sorry for stalling, but I want to brag a little bit about that. So we were at church this previous weekend, and we've been going to this non-denominational kind of born-again Christian church, I guess you could say, even though me and my family are Catholic. This is what my wife does. And so me and my father, we take her every weekend. Now, a lot of the weekends, I take my son and I take him in the nursery and I sit there with him and I watch him play while my wife is worshiping and enjoying the church service. And something that I was kind of happy about, kind of impressed with, we take my son there this weekend, and since we've been there for about a month, going about a month straight now since they resumed, my son, he knows the drill. He grabs me by the hand and he leads me. He knows it's playtime. For his mom, it's worship time. And my son, he associates that now with play. And he even knew how to find where it is. He led the way at 1.5 years. So I thought that was pretty good. But sometimes there's not a lot of kids in the nursery, which I always want a lot of kids because it's a good opportunity for my child to learn social skills, learn to play with other kids. So I'm always hoping there's going to be at least some other kids in there. Well, there was a lot of kids in there this past weekend. And he gets over to this one blonde boy who's at the upper limit of what they want in the nursery. Apparently this kid was 4 years old, and when they get that age they like to start taking him down to Sunday school because this is more for really small kids and more babies that wouldn't even understand just playtime. And they have all these great toys that my son loves playing with because they're different than what he has here at home. But he goes over to this blonde kid and he wants to play with him and the toy that he's playing with. But the kid, he pushes my son away from him. And now this is not a serious case of bullying or anything. And these are still very little kids, so they don't know exactly what they're doing. You can't blame them for anything. I'm not trying to throw shade at this little boy by any means. But he pushes my son away. And my son doesn't understand either. He just looks at me and he starts laughing at me. And I say to the boy, hey, why don't you play with them? Well, you guys can be friends. And he goes, no. And like I said, this is not some sort of serious deal to get angry or upset about by any means, but I kind of have a flashback going back to when I was a kid. And this kid, he had this really very, very whitish, yellowish blonde hair, very blonde, this little boy. And his siblings were all blondes. And then I look around and I notice even the women, the adults, this nursery was full today. But me and my son are the only people in the entire nursery that have dark hair. But seeing the little blonde boy, it gives me kind of flashbacks to when I was a little kid. And I noticed that a lot of little boys with blonde hair, they didn't really get along with me so much. I always kind of had a beef with a lot of blonde kids. Now there's exceptions to the rule. My best friend Lauren, he was a full-blooded Scandinavian kid, super blonde. His mom had pure white hair, that's how blonde she was. And there was another kid, Jeremy, in my elementary school. His dad was a former NFL player, had played in the NFL for at least some amount of time. And his dad was this huge Scandinavian guy. And this kid, Jeremy, we had things in common, like we liked a lot of the same movies and superheroes, and he was also one of the tallest kids in the class. So we had that to bond over because if there's any group of people that I've certainly not traditionally gotten along with in my life, it's little guys. And there's reasons for that that's maybe for another video, but they always have it out for us big guys. So anyways, I remember not getting along with blonde kids, especially blonde boys, growing up. And it's nothing that's that serious, but it's something that always stuck out in my mind. I remember when I was a little bit older, when I was like 13 to 16, someone said to me, your hair is so black and your eyes are so blue. You look like Dracula. You're like a vampire. And I kind of thought, well, geez, what are they trying to say? Am I a monster? But that could also be interpreted in a good way, too, because vampires have a certain sexy appeal for many people, and they're very attractive to some people. So maybe that's a good thing, but I always thought that was kind of funny. You have such black hair and such blue eyes. You look like Dracula. You're like a vampire. For some reason, I always remembered that. But these blonde children, especially boys, because it's not common to have blonde hair. Most people have darker hair, at least brown hair. So they're this kind of minority and people find it very cute. And so they get a lot of attention, especially from adults, but even from other children. They always get that attention because everyone finds them so attractive, so cute. Kind of like those Home Alone movies with Macaulay Culkin, the little blonde boy. That's the type that people like, not the Dracula-looking kids like me, I guess. Although I'd say I definitely turned out all well. Tall, dark, and handsome. Hey, I'll take that. But I was thinking too, some people, they might get upset when they see people. Often people, they get very jealous, very envious of people that have certain privileges in life or they're born a certain way. It could be anything. They're born into money. They're born tall like me. someone has more of an ideal body, a nicer body just through genetics, something like that, or a nicer face through genetics, something like that. And a lot of people get really envious of it. You should never get envious because that's terrible for you. But you should never, this is the lesson, the takeaway from this video, you should never envy someone else's blessing, because we all have our own blessing. We all have things that we're probably good at. This guy's good at something. Maybe he's a good runner. I'm not a good runner, but maybe I'm a good power lifter or something like that. Whatever it is, we all have different things we're suited for, kind of different blessings. Kind of like how I talked about how I didn't do track and field as I got older because, well, mainly I want to focus on wrestling, but I don't know if I have the genetics to go to a super high level in that sport. So we got to keep that in mind. Never be envious of other people's blessings. And especially when it comes to money, there's so many people I see, like even like Trump's kids or any of these politicians' kids, Biden's kids, he's getting his son hooked up with deals from the Ukraine, $50,000 a month. Man, that would be nice if some Ukrainian company would just send me $50,000 a month. But you can't think that way. You can't get into that way of thinking. It's absolutely terrible for you. So never be envious of other people's blessings. So I hope you enjoyed the story. This one was a little bit more lighthearted, and maybe I will do a video in the future about my experience of not getting along with the little guys. Let me know if you'd like to see that, but I also have a lot of great videos for you on this channel to enjoy. So until next time, my friends, and enjoy those garage sales before the garage, we got maybe a month left before the garage sale season is totally gone until after winter.